The only thing it's missing is a Bunsen burner. That'd be kind of awesome. Just attach that to the side, and you could roast things while you're waiting for the. This thing is amazing, Todd. It starts brewing coffee before you finish pouring the water inside the receptacle.
That's efficient, Mike.
Okay. Anyways. We digress. On tap this morning, we have, of course, Todd's here with the look at the numbers. We've got Matt Baker here with the Home Street Mortgage Minute, and we've got a full sound effect coming from Bob's phone this morning, so that's going to be delightful. And my three-pack on really just engaging and embracing the entrepreneur spirit. The big Hoff is here, so we're excited to visit with Michael Hofstetter, and, of course, so is Bob. So let's get moving right along as always. And it never fails, and for good reason. We always get emails every Monday afternoon. If you miss anything during the webinar, would like to get a copy of any of the slides, like to get information on any of our presenters, you can always email us at webinar@westusa.com, and we will get you all the information out to you as soon as possible. Pretty much that's after lunch, though, because after this, I'm ready to eat. So, Todd, let's take us through the numbers.
Well, hello, everyone. Here we go. Taking a look at these numbers. This is starting off again with the actual spreadsheet stats itself. As you can see, it shows the February numbers to the right and then even January numbers. And we try to keep about 3 months rolling, current month and 2 months past for you. That, we believe, allows you to at least see the quarterly trends and what's going on in the market, of course. But the big news today is looking at the closed inventory. For the month of March, obviously we're not quite finished, almost finished tomorrow, but look at those numbers, 6,461 closed so far. Take a look over at January, we're at 59, we were back over at 47 in February, back over at 47 in January. Mike, just like we've been talking about going on, 10% is about what NAR and all the chief economists are saying as far as the industry. And if you look at the percentile number just to the left of that, and again, that's month over month, but you're seeing, week over week, but you're seeing that what we're doing is about 9.5%. So again, it's really keeping up with what's been done a year ago, where we are at that 10% higher number. We're eating up as much as 28% of our inventory every single month. That's why our inventory numbers are falling. We're down to 22,754, and that's all the way down from 26, almost 27,000 just a couple of months, in the last 30 to 60 days. Here's another big jump in the numbers here, is if you take a look at the average list price, we're now sitting at about 465. Look back, we were at 445 last month, and even back behind that, 436. This month took a huge jump in list price. Well, gee, let me think a moment. What happens, what normally causes a large jump in prices? Well, look at the 3.53 month supply. The under 4%, that means we're back in a seller's market again. And all these other statistics, look at the sale price to list price at the bottom, 96.95%. Those numbers are saying to everybody out there, hey, you know what? The product is somewhat limited, and as a result, the market's heating up. There's more buyers. Take a look at the pending. We've been talking about that for a couple of months, over a month now. We've been talking about how that's at almost 6,000 properties pending. We haven't seen these kind of numbers. I mean, these are dramatically different. So on the recap metro market analysis that we publish also, both of these are on the dashboard, and they will be on the dashboard following the
We've got a
webinar.
substitute in for Nick today, and he doesn't know about the bell.
Oh, well, we got to get that bell back. So taking a look at the recap up here, you'll see that we're sitting at 128.7 days on market. That is, again, stereotypical. These are week-over-week numbers based on the price range on the bottom right-hand side. You can see each week we post those new numbers up there, so you can see exactly what's happening by price range in the MLS. If you take a look at the pending numbers, that's documenting what we've been talking about. Closing sitting at 6,461. This is just rocking. 28.35% is our absorption rate. And again, 96.95 just means that the sellers aren't giving as much money off the sale price right now. Doesn't mean that they're not giving a 3% concession still on page 2 of the contract. It just means that they're not discounting it quite as much. So when we sit back and we say, hey, listen, the inventory's heating up, the prices are going up, and it sounds like that means that the prices are going up faster than people's paychecks, and that's really what's happening. So the cost of living, we're having housing affordability is taking a little bit of a hit, but that's a good thing because it's really balancing us off as far as the industry is concerned. We still need more inventory. So here's kind of a thing. Mike, a couple of weeks ago, and actually not weeks, maybe a couple of months at this point, you and I were talking about, and I said, do you remember way back when we were doing business together and previously, and we'd sit down and we'd say, hey, what's the least expensive 3-bedroom house out there in the marketplace? What's the least expensive 4-bedroom? And you said, hey, you know what, that'd be something good that you should bring up on another webinar. So what I did today is I kind of showed you something that I really think if you want to be a market expert, if you want to know your inventory, you should be pulling these every single week. And I recommend you pull them on Fridays because that lets your mind stay fresh for the weekend when you bump into people in the grocery store. But here's kind of the thing. You should know at the top of your head based on the markets you serve. So if you're in Chandler, it's just the zip codes in Chandler. If you're in Southeast Chandler, it's 85248-249, those numbers. If you're over here on the west side of town, 85383 or whatever numbers are, you don't have to do the whole inventory, the whole market like I'm doing here. But this was just as something to give you an example. When somebody bumps into you and says, yeah, housing, yeah, I can't find a home, they're all, somewhat too expensive, you need to know not exactly what the price is of the house this person may be looking for, but that 3-bedroom homes in the Southeast Valley start at $90,000 right now. Or that, 3-bedroom homes in the North Valley, all that central corridor in Scottsdale, the average, of course, the areas surrounding Scottsdale bring this number down a little bit. But 3-bedroom, just the least expensive 3-bedrooms out there is $99,900 as of today. West Valley market about $65,000. Oh, and I did have one other criteria I stuck in here because I knew that everybody was going to go, oh, those got to be houses out in, way out in the extremes. These aren't. These are all relatively Metro Phoenix, and they're also tile roofs, so they've got to be 86 or newer roughly to have a tile roof. So I really didn't go into pulling some stats on product. You guys would say, oh my gosh, those things, of course, yeah, it's a barn somewhere, out in the middle of nowhere. But you need to know 3-bedroom single family, so that the first 3-bedroom could be 1,000 square feet or better. 4-bedroom single family. Pulte used to build that house, Mike. If you remember, it was a 1,500 or 1,480 square foot 4-bedroom. Remember those rooms were about the size of a closet.
Yeah, I remember a day I was selling the Dietz Crane 4-bedroom, 1,536 square feet.
Yeah.
I mean, man, I may still own one or two out there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Diamond Key used to have some of those too. But if you remember, the point was it's not up for you and I as realtors or as our realtors listeners to make a decision for the consumer what you think is the right 4-bedroom house for them. I mean, if they say they need a 4-bedroom home because of the size of their family, a 1,454 square foot 4-bedroom home, you might not think it's much larger than your garage. But to them, it's their dream home, and it's what they have to have. So when you go to pull this stuff, don't put your criteria in it. Just leave the basic product, just the walls, the square footage. That's all you really need. 4-bedroom, 1,800. What do you know at 1,800 square feet? You know that the secondary bedrooms are 10 by 12. If you're under 1,800 square feet, you're just not going to get it. They're 9 by 10. And then, of course, the 4 bedrooms above 2,600 that are single level, good to know. Basement homes are good to know. 5-bedroom big box homes are good to know. And that's what we're doing here. And now I would just pick your particular area that you're doing business in and then pull those stats, pull them every Friday. So if somebody bumps up to you and says, hey, yeah, I can't seem to find a 4-bedroom home under, 195,000 in Chandler, and you can look up there and go, oh, wait a minute, they're 125.9.
Now, I've been often accused of being a little slow. So let me try to dumb this down for us. As far as your reports go, the market's pretty active right now.
Market's hot.
Now, I'm going to be the bad guy here. Would it be safe to assume if we have agents out there whom aren't working with any buyers or sellers right now, and especially taking a look at how active the market is, we may be doing it wrong a little bit. We may not be doing enough to get out there because we're no longer in the days where we could just say, hey, the market's dead.
Right. Yeah, the big thing here is, of course, you've got to have an answer. You've got to have a reason to start a conversation with people. You've got to have the statistics so that when somebody says, you can't find that house for 125.9, who are you kidding? You can go right to the MLS and pull it up.
All right, so with that, I think it's a good segue into, attitude of the agent. And I've just been really, personally been reading a lot of books on entrepreneurship and so forth. And it's just sometimes we forget as agents that we are entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
That's what we are. We work for ourselves. We are even though our license is hung with West USA, we are entrepreneurs. We're the owners of our small business. So I came up with 3 tips on taking on the entrepreneur spirit of what are some of the traits that some of the greatest entrepreneurs have out there. And I know you and I, Todd, we always talk about Shark Tank. Love Shark Tank and love the whole deal there. Bob, no, it's not a show about sharks in the water. But anyways, so the first one is tenacity, taking on the entrepreneur spirit. I think this is one thing that all realtors should embrace, but not necessarily all have, and that really is the tenacity. We face obstacles left and right. Every time we turn around, there are obstacles. One of always is that time of year when you get your armless dues, your board dues, and all that.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is an obstacle.
Yeah.
And whatever the case is. So entrepreneurs, true successful entrepreneurs, are committed. It's not just pushing through the obstacles, but making that psychological decision to push through those obstacles. Absolutely. To wake up every day going, man, whatever comes my way, I am going to push through that. And part of that are those that avoid giving up. This business does not come easy to anyone. There are those out there that looks like it comes easy to, but they have spent those years working hard and working those leads and building that network. The ones that are successful are those that and whether it could be a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, but make that decision not to give up.
Absolutely. And, and sometimes people think this is a much more difficult. Now, it's human nature to make things complicated. All you need to do really is know your numbers. Sit down with your coach, find out exactly what your numbers are, and that'll at least tell you what you need to do. And, to be quite honest with you, you could earn almost $100,000. Well, actually, you can. It's $108,000 is the actual number. You could earn $108,000 gross in real estate if you focused on just getting having 2.3 listings, appointments, not closings, appointments every single month.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Number 2, we've all met the agents that just aren't excited about what they do. And part of selling real estate is having passion. I think for those of us in the game, we have to be passionate. We have to be excited. We've got to love what we do. We've got to love waking up every morning and going out and finding the next lead and helping somebody find their next home. We have to wake up every day excited. And there's different things. There's different elements to real estate. There's different things where you can draw your passion from. I work with a lot of a lot of agents out there. They just love helping those first-time home buyers. There's nothing better, in my opinion, than handing over the keys to that first-time home buyer.
Watching their face and their family light up, and just, wow, what a monumental point in their life to have that happen.
Yeah, and also if your passion is money, and not all, and this is, I think, a misnomer, not all successful multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs out there are greedy. Right. I mean, some of them, they're in it for the love of the game. They love what they do. They love making money. Everybody loves to make money, but the money sometimes is the byproduct. Right. And when we become passionate about helping our community by providing our real estate services, I think it's a game changer. And I always maintain that passion or lack of is worn on our sleeves.
It's funny. Somebody said a while back about passion. They said it's what makes you do what you don't want to do when you know you have to do it. I mean, if you think about that, I mean, it's that passion that comes from inside when you know what to do. You really just don't want to do it. You're like, oh, I don't want to go lead generate today. But it's that passion that comes through, and it makes you do what you don't want to do, even though you know you need to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And then the third attribute, and I think this is probably, I'm not going to say the most important, but all successful entrepreneurs share this trait, and that's self-belief. No one gets to be a millionaire, a multi-billionaire, whatever the case is. No one reaches the pinnacle of success unless they truly believe in themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think for a lot of us, and I come across a lot of our agents, and sometimes I look into their eyes and I see that sack of self, or that lack of self-belief, because it is intimidating, especially getting into this game and knowing all the different things and all the different components that make up a successful real estate career. But we can't be successful without believing in ourselves. And it's no matter where you're at in your career right now, whether Absolutely. You're new to real estate, whether you've been in here 5 years, it's that self-awareness, that self-analyzation of saying, okay, do I really believe, because you just talked about how hot the market is right now.
It's on fire.
And there's a lot of agents out there that aren't doing it. and to get into it, we have to believe that we can. And I believe being overly confident that you can help your clients. I think that's where it comes down to.
Absolutely.
Okay, if I'm overly confident that I can help you, Mr. Buyer or Mrs. Seller or whatever the case is, that will put me above the threshold of my competitors, because I will show it, and it'll exude from me that, yes, I am very confident. Not confident that I'm the best agent in the world, but I'm confident that whatever your need is, whatever your problem is, I can help you solve it.
And resolve it. You know, I don't know if everybody remembers that Saturday Night Live skit from years ago that not Jack Hanley, but what was the guy's name, that he'd look in the mirror and he'd say, you know, gosh darn it, people just like me.
Yeah.
You know, that guy. And because I'm good enough, you know, I'm handsome enough, and gosh darn it, people just, whatever that was. That was a play, a parody done on the benefits of that when you say over to yourself the positive reinforcements, the positive affirmations. You know, you sit back and every morning it might be as simple for you. Maybe you haven't heard a lot of positive things, and maybe all you hear is because consumers complain. Maybe, you know, that's what you're picking up. But all you need to do is look in the mirror every day and say your positive affirmations to each other. You know, I am a good realtor. My intent is to help people. My love is for handing the keys to someone and watching the smiles on their faces. You know, I know that I can help my clients find a solution to their needs. And gosh darn it, people just like me.
Well, and if you're like me, you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, and you're just amazed that you've gotten better looking from the day before. It's my cross to bear, but so all right. So if any of this resonates, I would recommend going out there, finding some great books on being an entrepreneur, because at the end of the day, that's what we are as licensed real estate agents. We are entrepreneurs who work for ourselves. A few announcements coming up. We've got React begins next week. If you're not connected with all the different social media platforms, that'll begin next Monday afternoon. You can find it, the registration on the dashboard. Everybody got an email this morning with a link to this. So join us next Monday afternoon, and it goes through all next week. You're going to learn everything there is to know about Facebook, Twitter, Hootsuite, your CRM, and so forth. So make sure you join us. Also, starting next week or next Monday morning is our next corporate orientation at 9:30. Whether you're new to West USA or you've been here and you're just unfamiliar with a lot of the different products that we have, join us for corporate orientation. We'll take you to be 2.5 hours. We'll take you through everything that we have to offer you, everything that is West USA. You can find that information on the dashboard. Ding, ding, and or the email that you received from corporate today. So go ahead and sign up for that. And then I don't know whether people know this or not, but there's been a lot of changes coming down the pipeline when involving RESPA and regulations and so forth, and what title companies can do for you. There's going to be a lot of upset people in a couple months when their title company says, hey, we can't do that for you. You need to know why. And so we're offering 2 classes on Thursday, April 2nd. You can find that information on the dashboard. And again, that email that we sent you today, these things will also be on our Facebook page. So get signed up, become very well acquainted.
You know, Mike, this is really a very important thing. The game is changing right in front of everybody right now. It's not for the worse. It's good. It's for the better. But the point is that, you know, you're going to have to embrace this. The method of closing is changing. The requirements of the loan process is changing thanks to CFPB. And Marge has put together this program, and you know what? Every realtor needs to go. Don't care if you've been doing it for 30 years or 30 seconds.
And it's free.
And it's free.
All right. Well, I want to go ahead again, once again, apologize to Matt Baker. I just laid down that 3-pack. I don't know how you're going to follow up with that, but give it a shot.
Follow up? Passion is contagious, right? What are you going to do? So let's dig in at Ben Bernanke. Everyone probably is familiar with that name. It's been sort of under the radar since he left his post at the Fed, and Janet Yellen has taken over, and he actually broke his silence publicly. He's been doing private events at like $100,000 a pop, right, and goes and speaks. But he actually posted a blog article, I think it was this morning or over the weekend, that laid out sort of what he thought the Fed was doing right in terms of keeping the rates low, and that there was a long-term trend of rates remaining low, which was sort of he's well respected, obviously for his role in the financial crisis that we went through, and so I just thought I would share a little bit of what his nuggets were, even though you could read this on the screen. half of it I don't even understand. Transitory words that Mike, I know that may be lost. I don't know, but
yeah. Translation.
I have no idea. But the reality is the commentary was that he thinks that they're defending the fact that the rates are still low and they'll continue to be low.
I tap out after 3 syllables.
Right. Well, then you fit into the second line. They're confused criticism. We have all right. So the next, if we go to the next one, let's just jump into where rates are. So, the economic data is gonna trump sort of what happens this week, right? And the jobs, another round of jobs numbers are going to come out here at the end of the week. Wednesday, Thursday. So we're going to get an idea. But in terms of where rates are, I mean, you can't complain about 4%.
No, you can't.
You can't complain about sub 4 on an FHA loan, and even jumbo rates are still really, really solid. So, yeah. I mean, and maybe this is helping fuel, a little bit of the activity, but it definitely doesn't hurt. And so, when you're talking to your people out there, rates are still really low. Get them over to us for a pre-approved consultation. We'll be more than happy to assist. The next slide is, we talked about significant income changes, and we really didn't spend a whole lot of time last week. And then the Fannie Mae came back and delayed it. So everything that we talked about last week, you can forget about. Not really, but it's basically going to go to the back burner. And the reason is that it was extremely confusing. And everybody was like, whoa, Fannie Mae here. I don't understand this. I need more insight, more guidance, more clarity. It doesn't make much sense. They luckily recognize that, and they put the quash on it, and we're not going to see these changes. Now, I did mention, you can continue, Mike, through there. You could forward through rental income changes. Rental income calculations did indeed change. Mm-hmm. It's the self-employment piece of it that did. So, just remember that, and if you have questions on it or whatever, feel free to email us afterwards, and you can forward through that. And so no delay, no news then on the self-employment front. Will just be business as usual, which still doesn't help self-employed people buying a house when they write off all their income. But we definitely are analyzing that and doing our best to qualify for as much as we can. So, again, if you want to reach us offline, you can obviously email us or give us a call, and we'll be happy to help you.
One of the things always that I'm finding with your weekly visits, the market's constantly changing as far as all the rules and all the different things. So I would just encourage our agents to not hesitate to drop by one of the, and see the local rep in our West USA office. There's a list of who they are, and become familiar with what is going on out there.
And I'm challenging my team to be proactive as well, and calling agents to give them updates on what's happening, right? There's so much stuff happening, and whether it's, you guys talk about Respatilla, but, there's not 1,500 agents on the webinar. So, we're trying to really be proactive to get the word out on some of these things that are happening. And if you need, use us as a resource. That's really what we're here for. We'd love to help close some business for you, but at the end of the day, we're just here to help.
It's those agents that truly do care about their financial future are the ones that are on the webinar each Monday morning.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Matt. Jump in there, see your local rep there, always in there. And, and if you have a buyer that is in the office with you, or you're out and about, feel free to drop in your branch office and see your rep. Just a great tool to have. All right. It's time for the Hoff. Excited about this. We got Michael Hofstetter here.
There he is. Look at that. He's in his little old kit.
I love that hairdo. I love
He's in
it.
kit.
All right. So we basically and this is a constant battle, and not so much because agents are necessarily purposely doing it wrong, but because, we just don't know better. So we felt like from the corporate level that this would be a good time for a great reminder, because there are a lot of agents out there that are utilizing people as personal assistants, and a lot of them are licensed, which is great, but there's a lot of them unlicensed, and a lot of people don't understand that there's, well, take it away.
Yeah. Well, you got issues out there if you have an unlicensed assistant and you don't really know for sure what's going on. So one thing that we do coach on, in my past experience in coaching, is when you start growing in your real estate, you're getting 3 or 4 transactions a month, well, you might want to think about getting an assistant, because that's going to really help you pick up that production and maybe move on to building a team. And that's what we we really pushed a lot with building a team to help your production stay stable and work. And it's funny because I posted this morning on Facebook on the AZ Q&A that I have out there, and an agent, Rob Cowie, he's a big agent, real good guy, and he posted on there. I said, so what can an unlicensed assistant do? And he said, everything that any agent can do because they're so knowledgeable. Of course, he was just kidding, but you know, unlicensed assistants. So let's cover a little bit. When you look out, and it's funny, this is the first time I brought my law book up here because we have to go through that law book when we're looking at what can they do, what can they not do. So this is ADRE's substantive policy statement that they have. I'm not going to read it word by word for you because we're trying to keep you awake. But at the same time, an unlicensed assistant right there, the first thing that comes to my mind is how you're paying them. To me, that's really important. So if you're paying them on per transaction, well, that's illegal. You can't do that. So you need to pay that unlicensed assistant on an hourly basis and not connected to a transaction. That is the key. So when we first think of what we're going to do with an unlicensed assistant. Second, what can they do? Can they make phone calls for you? Can they set appointments? What can they really do? Do you know, Mike?
Well, yeah, I don't see any problem with them setting appointments.
Okay, that's a big question.
Because I mean, my understanding is first of all, they can't provide any information that would be garnered from the MLS.
Correct. And that would include price too.
Right.
You know, so if a buyer calls up and they pick up the phone and they're asking questions, it states right in here, they cannot discuss that property at all if they're unlicensed. Any kind of discussion, they would require a license. So a key things to think about here. What can they do? Well, they can collect all the information you need, demographics. You know, they say, listen, I want to market that area. Go get all that information on that subdivision. And they can do that. They can call around, get all that information you want. They can solicit interest, engaging in services of licenses or brokerage. So they can call companies, you know, inspection companies, other real estate companies, and try to get to work with them and get information about them. One question that comes up a lot is, you know, can they set up the inspection? Can they set up the termite?
During the inspection period, yeah.
You know, during the inspection period. Well, it states right here in the policy ADRE that they can set or confirm appointments with no other discussion. And that's throughout everything, no other discussion. So they can be on task on what they're going to do. So if I'm going to call licensee, so right here it says a licensee, they can call a licensee to list or show a property, so they can call that, just a licensee. They can call a buyer with a loan officer, a property inspector to inspect the home, so they can call the home inspector and set that up. They can call a repair maintenance person to perform maintenance on the property, and they can call an appraiser to appraise the property. And this is just bullet points, boom, 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 right from the policy statement itself. Let's see, mortgage.
Okay, well, what about this scenario? So let's say I do have some marketing pieces out there, whether they're door hangers or whatever the case is, and there's a phone number that rings to, let's say, my assistant who answers the call. So now my assistant, who's unlicensed, has got a prospective buyer on the phone.
Correct.
What type of questions are they allowed to ask, and or are they limited to asking?
Yeah, they're very limited on what they can ask and what they can do. They can get their phone number and their name, and I'll be happy to have the realtor give you a call back, and that's about it.
They can't ask like what type of house you're looking for. Have you spoken to a lender?
That's a no. No, they cannot ask anything that has to do with real estate whatsoever. They could probably ask them what kind of car they drive, but they can't ask them if they're qualified or what's going on.
I mean, literally, I can't say, hey, okay, Mr. Mrs. Smith, are you looking for a 3-bedroom home or a 4-bedroom home?
No, I mean, they do, but you can't do that. I mean, you have to be very specific about
that's why
being very careful.
When my phone rings, I'm looking for Dale's voice. If I hear Dale's voice, he's setting me up on a sting. I know not to have my assistant to answer any questions.
Well, you have a license, don't you?
My assistant does it, my 9-year-old.
Yeah, there you go. So be proactive when you're working with your assistant. Maybe have some guidelines for them. Print out the policy from ADRE. You can get it right on their website. It's easy. Just Google it. I can tell you I Googled it last night and today, and it came up everywhere.
All right, we got a great question in here.
Sure.
And also a previous question. I'd like to maybe start relating some of this also to property management assistants.
Okay.
But what is the difference between an assistant and a transaction coordinator, and can we pay a coordinator who is handling only the paperwork for each transaction and no other duties per transaction?
Okay, very good. I mean, a transaction coordinator is an assistant, whether they're licensed or unlicensed. And I would tell you, if you're going to use a transaction coordinator, you want one that's licensed because they can do a lot more for you than an unlicensed. They're not going to understand the process and paperwork and everything that needs to be involved. You know, if you need to get stuff signed, a licensed assistant can take care of that for you.
And that licensed assistant also needs to be in the same brokerage. Can't
Correct.
be from another firm.
Okay.
You know, which is important as well. Was there another question on that?
No.
Oh, that was
I thought there was two
yeah,
questions.
it sounded
Okay,
like there were
okay.
two questions. So
Yeah, no, and so then it goes back to the original question about, you know, can you pay them for each transaction for, you know, for their duties or
No.
a 1099?
A licensed person you can. An unlicensed person has to be just a
you know, it's really
person.
funny is that last year, a couple of years back, there was a big debacle going on. A lot of the brokerages, and the question was, okay, well, wait a minute, you taught me to have a licensed assistant, right? I mean, I can't have an unlicensed assistant. I mean, I can, but their duties are so restricted that realistically, I don't, you know, unless it's just administrative behind the scenes, I don't know why you'd want to pay someone that isn't licensed. That's number one. So now you got a licensed assistant, and you say to that person, oh, by the way, I want you in the office by 9 o'clock, and you can leave at 3. It's fine. You know, oh, you got to go pick up the kids. No problem. You can leave at 3. But you got to be in every morning at 9. That changes them from it being compensated per portion of the transaction to being hourly, because it now takes the independent contractor and says you're no longer an independent contractor. You're now an employee. And now there's all sorts of new things that are responsible, such as you have to pay them through a payroll company. You know, there's just a lot of issues that are out there. So even when you do have a licensed assistant, whether they're a transactions coordinator, they're administrator, they're answering your incoming calls, whatever that may be, it's okay to pay them a percentage of the transaction based on closing. However, you can't demand, let me rephrase that, you cannot demand that they work certain hours, because that violates the independent contractor status.
Yeah, just like we can't demand any of you out there to
Work
show
certain
up
hours.
here or be at our meetings or be on our webinar or anything else like that, because we're not allowed to do that.
So then is there any specific differences? Because I do want to address the one question about having an assistant for property management. Or
Okay.
is it pretty much all the same?
It's all the same.
It's all the same. Yeah, property management, anything that has to do with real estate. I would say the reason why you want unlicensed is because they're going to be a little bit better rate you're going to pay on it. But a licensed assistant is going to be your best bet because they can get a lot more done for you. So if you're looking to really take a load off of you on real estate and get yourself out doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? You're supposed to be out there prospecting. You're supposed to be out there doing real estate and have your assistant take care of all the stuff behind the scenes. A licensed person is going to be able to do more, a lot more. So
Correct.
Well, now let's maybe dive into the ramifications. So let's say I have an unlicensed real estate agent and I have them performing duties outside of what is permitted. I mean, what are some of the penalties and how much trouble is it? Is it something that we could get in trouble just from our broker, or does that come down from the Department of Real Estate, or?
yeah,
It's
I mean,
civil.
it's all ADRE is going to manage that. If we find out about it, then we'll probably have to deal with that. But I would say, and I don't know, I can't give any specifics on what can happen. I could definitely say your license could be in jeopardy if you're employing that person. It's not going to be the person's fault. It's going to be yours.
Right.
So they're going to come after you. That's for sure. And your license is going to be in jeopardy, and they can charge whatever. Bob, do you know? I've never.
There will be a cease and desist from the real estate department.
Okay.
And we get a lot of those when the commissioner publishes her report. People are acting as real estate agents, but they're given a cease and desist, and it could be a heavy penalty at the end of that after they go to court.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I may know the answer to this question, but whether it's via property management or just a regular residential real estate agent, can an unlicensed assistant then direct people to the agent's website? You know, hey, I'd like some information about this property. No, I can't provide that for you, but please go to my website and you can type in the address and get the information that you want.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine, and that's a great way to do it. You know, you could have landing sites for each one of your properties and direct them to there. I mean, because they're directing that person to the agent anyway, so yeah, they can definitely do that. But let's talk a little bit about some don'ts, and these don'ts are right from ADRE right here. An unlicensed assistant shall not perform the following activities.
Okay, and just so you know,
Yeah.
when they start throwing in the word shall not,
Shall not.
that's bad.
That's bad. That's really, really bad. All right, so this right here, they cannot hold, host an open house without an agent being present. And that means they cannot even drive there, open it up, and get it all set up for you to be there. They cannot do that. All right, so you have to be present with them. They're there. Perform a walkthrough inspection. So walkthrough or binders or final, they cannot do that. They have to be licensed. They cannot answer any questions relating to a transactional document. So, you know, even the transaction coordinator, if they're not licensed, they say, well, what about this line and where do I need to sign here? Big no-no there. Don't do that. They cannot give instructions to inspectors, appraisers, or maintenance repair people because these instructions are part of the license's regular duties.
Okay, okay. Let me stop you there because I'm thinking of things of all the violations that I've committed in the past. They're rushing forward. But
right.
so
we're recording this.
Yeah. So can't prove anything though. So let's say unlicensed assistant. I am working with an appraiser. I do some research. Just me as the agent.
Okay.
Okay. Can an unlicensed agent forward that type of information?
I believe they can forward it. Yeah.
Okay.
They can't discuss it, and that's
okay.
why, you know, when they
You can make the appointment. You just can't get into the discussion of what needs to be
yeah,
done.
they cannot talk about it. They can email stuff back and forth and do it, and they're very specific in the policy here stating with no discussion, and that's the key. No discussion.
And for that person, the listener, that's the property manager, you know, that would mean when you're dealing with, you know, walkthroughs, you're dealing with, you know, people when they come in and they're doing their final inspection on the property, things of that nature, that unlicensed assistant cannot do those kinds of things.
Right. Now, they can go and open up a property for a license when the licensee is present. They can do that. Like, you know, there are people out there that have listings for the sellers like, you know, I don't want anybody here to go through this house. I do not want to have a lockbox on here. That assistant could go out and meet the buyer agent there and go through as long as that agent's there.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
But with no discussion.
Correct.
No discussion. Right.
And that never happens.
Yeah, well, not that I know of.
Are they allowed to make coffee? I'm getting really bummed here.
That's not discussion. So coffee, yeah,
It
definitely.
doesn't fall under real
fine.
estate activity, so I think you're good on that one.
They can
Mike.
hand out water, you know, and they can, you know, have good feelings, but they cannot.
All right,
have
here's a good one.
Okay.
Because this is kind of new with the new HOA addendum. Can an unlicensed assistant call the HOA and get the details required on the new HOA form? And what if the information they are calling for is your own set of questions?
Yeah, no. The new HOA addendum that's coming out, and I'm getting tons of questions on this, the seller needs to call them and get that information. Because I can tell you, HOAs right now, because this new addendum is out, is getting blasted. And they're feeling it because I've already had a call from an HOA. They're like, why are we getting so many calls from these people? But the seller needs to call it. Again, an unlicensed, if they do not have a license, cannot discuss real estate at all with any not contacts so much, but clients out there. They cannot do that.
What do you do if you run into an unlicensed assistant working for somebody else who's doing the responsibilities of a licensed agent? Rat them out?
Think on them.
I would negotiate an extra %.
Yeah. No, you know, it doesn't affect your ability with what you're doing with your client.
And I think that was the question.
Really
Do
what it
you
is.
have
Yeah.
obligation or should
No,
you
you
be
do
concerned?
not have
But
obligation.
the one clear thing here is that person does not have any authority to speak on behalf of the agent or the client, the other client.
Right.
And so I would not rely on any information that person passes on to you. There is a responsibility for an agent to vet all information that they receive,
Mhm.
and in that train of thought, you might be relaying information to your client that's incorrect. So I would only deal with licensed individuals.
Yeah, and I like that idea too. You know, a lot of times we're out there making offers, and the listing agent, you get a response from, just deal with this person or just deal with that person. And my feeling is if that's a listing agent on that property, you have a right to talk to that listing agent. You have a right to send information to them. And if they don't want to have a discussion with you and they only want you to deal with someone that's not on the listing, you know, I definitely don't get upset in cause any issues, but
Right.
make sure that you can at least have a communication with them and have open communication where you can contact them if you needed to. Because that just helps, when we're closing. I mean, especially now, this year is going to be, I think, a fun year when it comes to switching over from the HUD. We're going to have new documents and new disclosures, and you're going to need more communication, more clear communication with that other agent on the other side.
Yeah, and I would say, Todd, too, this would be a phenomenal reason to use our dashboard, because there are agents out there that are now, because of this, going, holy shnikes, I've been doing it wrong, and I need a licensed assistant to help me do some of the transactional work, and then yet we still have a lot of West USA agents out there who would like to make
trying to get their feet wet in the business. Yeah.
some extra money,
Sure.
and so forth. So I would encourage everybody to utilize the dashboard, to whether you're looking for that opportunity or you're looking for someone.
And I'd go one step further, Mike, and I know where the objective is to promote the dashboard, which is good. I'd also reach out to the office manager and also to the office coach, because both of those two people also will be very plugged in with individuals that are looking for that. Because there's a lot of people that obviously work from home or different things, or maybe they're not, they haven't jumped in with both feet. It's not their primary job yet, and that might be the wrong person for you. So I think the coach and the office manager and the dashboard, as far as posting it on the dashboard, are three great ideas.
Yeah. And I'll leave this final. Getting an assistant, whether licensed or unlicensed, will really help your business. I mean, it will change what you're doing. In the past, I've had some really amazing assistants, and my production just sometimes doubled. And they really take a lot off of you, that daily stuff when you're talking that hourly. When I'm doing paperwork, well, that's $20 an hour, $10 an hour. Where you're out there selling, where you're $200 or $300 an hour. Mm-hmm. So put your effort where you need to. And when you're ready, at that point, set up, interview the person very well, and you'll have a great assistant.
So I have one last question, because I know a lot of people are wondering this. So if I got this right, I have a licensed assistant.
Mm-hmm.
I can pay them per transaction.
Mm-hmm.
What would I be expecting to pay? Just on average, a range of.
Yeah, that's a hard thing. I mean, it depends on their qualifications, how well they know the market, how much work they're going to do, or they're going to be driving out. So it's really hard for me to give you a number on that. I've done it both ways, where you have hourly or per transaction. So I really cannot.
Well, I think part of the thing is, before we jump into consulting someone on what they should be paying, the question is, you need to have that consultation about, realistically, you have to define what the things that you're good at as a realtor. And obviously we're anticipating you're good at converting, you're good at closing, you're good at, you're a very personable individual, so you're out there in front of the clients. The person that you're looking for is going to be someone that really is more of that analytical person, more of that administrative level person that's going to help you, really spend more time out there doing the things that close more deals. If you take sometimes a person who, and you go after that and you try to dump that licensed person, you try to dump too many responsibilities on that person, that person's going to start wanting 25% of your deal. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you do the math on that. That's ridiculous. I mean, $15 an hour or $10, what I think it is, $12 an hour. It's about $1,880 a month for 40-hour weeks. And that's a lot. $1,800 is a lot less expensive than 20% of a commission.
Sure.
So let me ask another
question. And if you're only doing one per month, you don't need an administrative assistant yet.
No, and you hit about 2 or 3.
And I don't know whether you know the answer to this. So one of my concerns would be, as an agent, if I had a licensed assistant, is eventually them taking my leads. Is there a way to protect me as the licensed agent hiring a licensed assistant?
I don't know if there's a way to protect it 100%, but having a strong database, username, passwords that you could switch up, that's going to be the best way to do it, and that's how I've done it in the past. So if you get a really good database out there, a CRM, where they cannot download or access that, there's many programs out there. My favorite is Top Producer. They have great systems like that, but there are other ones, and the ones that we have too, if it's set up so that they can lose access if you let them go, or they cannot download the entire list. But, I mean, they can write it down There's not much you can do
Yeah,
about
the
it.
only other thing you could do is have and again, you're talking about trying to keep an honest person honest. You're not really trying to, talk about a document or something that can keep the thief out. But, even some appropriate wording in the contract that you have them sign that,
The employment
that
agreement.
includes what their
Okay,
job
that's
duties
what I was
are.
getting to. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, those are probably the best two ways, what Mike said and then that one.
All right.
And one other thing before we go. So, guys, I push the disc a lot. So if you're out there and you're looking for a licensed
You got to
assistant,
tell them what a disc is first.
do a disc,
The behavioral
DISC,
assessment,
right?
yeah.
Disc assessment.
Yeah.
You just search for it online, discassessment.com or
Peoplekeys.com.
People Keys. There you go. So there's a bunch. But I think the key to getting a good assistant is vetting a good assistant. You hire the wrong person, you're paying double just to get rid of them. It's not worth it. And if you understand the disc a little bit, the S and the C is really what you're looking for in an assistant. You get a D, a high D, no, or an I, they'll just be talking too much. They won't get any work done. So look for an S and a C.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks, Mike. Well done. Well done. That was the Hoff. All right, Bob, help us stay out of trouble. Hope you had a great weekend.
He was on call. Bob's
Bob's on call.
Yeah, right. What's this fuzzy thing here on my speaker?
It,
What
pre-
is
it
that?
prevents you from all of us from spitting into the microphones and causing a pop that happens when we.
Okay,
Pops when you speak.
here's a fella I want to, I guess I'll thank him. This guy is terrific. He took off and went to Valparaiso, Chile. Went down there for 2 weeks, built a bunch onto a church, 28 by 30 foot piece and a 600 square foot piece. He does that. He's a plumber. He works in our Mesa office. Anybody know John Jansen over there? This guy's terrific. He would thank all those that supported him in prayer and financially. Be another milestone in my life to be added to my other 26 foreign trips. This dude is 82 years old, and he just
No
doesn't
way.
quit.
82?
82.
That's awesome.
Isn't that something?
is
And this is
awesome.
his report to me here. Assisting the folks there, he really likes to do this. 27 trips now he's made to foreign countries. He's wonderful. Thank you, John. Here's one I have here that I just put on the dashboard. Where's the dinger? No dinger here
Our
today?
substitute, that wasn't in the notes that Nick provided, so we're going to get on Nick about that.
I see. Thank you, Nick. Here's I went to one. I listened to a webinar that was put on recently, and the name of it was, Are You a Property Manager? Are you aware of the top 10 fair housing issues property managers are facing today? And how do you avoid these potential risks? This was quite a deal. It lasted about 45 minutes. AAR Online put it on. And here's some of the stuff that I got from that. It says that, here's one of the notes I made. Is pregnancy a disability? Now, this is Denise Holliday that's doing this work here, and this has come up in some of her law stuff. She's a lawyer, works with Andrew Hull at, what's the name of his website anyway? Andrew Hull, Dr. Evictor. That's what it is. Yeah.
DrEvictor.com.
Understanding protected classes. Perception is intent. There's maintenance and vendors, inadvertent comments that they might make while they're around there. You're responsible for these things. There's pool barrier. Should you have a pool barrier up there? Treat all equally, waive late fees, do not treat differently. All of this stuff is in this, and I put it on the dashboard there for you to find. It's easy to get into, and you can listen to it because it's a saved, I don't suppose you'd call it a document. It's a saved webinar. It's on AAR Online, and I tell you just how to get in there. There's a lot of stuff on that AAR Online, amazing that I saw as I went through all that information. ePro certification, archived webinars, all kinds of things if you want to look at the stuff. Now here's something else that came up last week. How much inspection time is enough? how much inspection time do you have? Well, it says on the contract you have 10 days, and then there's a blank spot where you can add something else there. You could put 15 days if you wish. Is 10 days enough? Many times agents get through with the inspection and the inspectors say that somebody should inspect something else. Well, you don't have any more time to inspect. You can't inspect something else, and the seller doesn't have to do it. So why don't you take a little more time, say 15 days, and we've talked about this in some of the sales meetings this past week. Get a little more time so you make sure that you don't have mold in the house. And there was mold in one house, and so the seller just took a washcloth and wiped it down and got rid of the mold. Or did they? I don't think so. You need to have more time to make sure you can't get that mold, have a big problem afterwards. And you can actually get a free inspection. They'll come out and take a look at it and tell you whether you've got mold there or not. At that 1-800 water damage, just call that number and they'll come and help you. That's Alicia. She's very good at this stuff. Now, why can't my appraisal come in right? Well, there's another problem. Paul Moore has an appraisal home book that he wrote, and now he says it's not quite enough. So he's rewriting it, and he's going to come out to our meetings because it needs to be just a little bit different. The appraisals are getting a little tougher. And so he's going to write another one. He's going to come out and talk to the agents in some of these offices. And I've got him preparing pretty soon to come out to the Arrowhead office and hand that one out. And of course he'll do it for the Mesa office right away because that's where he is headquartered, at the Mesa office. And he's always giving, ready to give and help the fellow agents out. Here's one I got the other day. This is what our agent has got the buyer, and the co-broke agent is another company, and the agents are getting along fine. Everything's going great. He says, you know, the listing agent says, I've got to cure you now because we don't have this transaction closed. I've got to send you a cure notice. But don't worry about it. We're not going to cancel. So she got the cure notice, and it went along about 8 days. And then she decided she would try to get an extension of the contract. And she asked about that, and they said, well, don't worry about it. We're okay. We don't need an extension. She called me and asked me what to do. So what do you think, folks? What do we need to do here? we need to take care of this. There is they won't sign an extension, but they can, at any time, they can cancel this transaction. And how much earnest money does this one have? 10 large. You know what that is? That's a bundle. 10 large. So you need to get this thing canceled out and then go after it. After that, you can revive the thing, do something, but you got to protect that earnest money because you're sitting there with a cure notice in place. That scares me. Of course, the agent said, oh, don't worry about it. No, we don't have to worry about the agent, but perhaps you have to worry about the seller when they start thinking, gee, we could have the 10 grand and go on down the road here and sell it to somebody else. Somebody called me the other day and asked about a prepossession for personal property, and we've just put this up on the A forms, I believe it is. Personal property, that means you might occupy the garage or something. And you can read this document and put the stuff in the garage and actually have prepossession of a garage or a backyard or whatever, so you can get some of the personal property without moving in. We don't want to move in. Now here's Riz Media. It's got some of the best articles you'll ever read. I hope you subscribe to that. Now this one's called Riz Media's House Calls. 5 reasons why community pages are a must for real estate websites. 5 reasons, and this is great. If I were going to go sell houses now, that's the first thing I would create is a website that serves the community. You have to have people looking at it. You have to travel from door to door and make sure they're looking at it. You have to visit people. You have to be very aware and prevalent in a neighborhood, helping home buyers with this community pages. There's lots of stuff you can put on. Like somebody sent me the complete list of Rosie, what's the guy's name? Rosie somebody.
Rosie on the House.
Rosie on the House, yeah. I got everything he ever wrote, I've got it in my computer. This is something you want to provide for people so they can get into these things. Here's one here. Finding a paint to bust ghost shadows on the ceiling. I've had those before. It shows the wood up there after the sun has shined on it and everything. It's not too good. You're ready to close her down. I'm ready to close it down too. I got a lot to say, but go ahead, close it down.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Michael.
We had a lot of questions that have come in that we have not been able to get to. So if we were unable to get to your question, please email us at webinar@westusa.com, and I will get you the information or point you in the right direction. And to Bob's point, as far as Riz Media, almost every day we're posting one of their articles on our Facebook page, some phenomenal tips. I wholeheartedly agree. You need to subscribe to Riz Media. It's free. They'll send you daily emails, and it's a great resource for some great articles. But talking about Facebook, we posted an article today, 21 first-time home buyer tips, a great read, a great thing to kind of take a look at. You can readapt and use for some of your own marketing pieces. So if you haven't done so already, like us on Facebook.com/West USA Realty Inc. I encourage you to check on that a couple times a day because we're always posting useful pieces of information for your disposal and for your convenience. And I will leave you with today's quote of the day from Thomas Jefferson. Do you want to know who you are? Don't ask, act. Action will delineate you and define you. Folks, thank you for joining us this morning. Have a great day and go out and sell a house.